Okay, I will call the meeting to order and ask if there's a disclosure of interest. As there is none, we have a resolution moving and seconding the adoption of the agenda for today's meeting with the following additions. Number 6, reports of municipal officers. IA report 2025.69 landfill punch card tracker. Number 11, petitions and communications for information only. AI Quebec Falls Generation Station Redevelopment Project, Public Information Session, Noise Bylaw Exemption Request, and the OPG Freshet Information Session. Any discussion or additions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. First item we have is the minutes of the public meeting held on March 11th for approval. The motion's been moved and seconded. Were there any errors or omissions? Page 11 to 14. As there were none, those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any discussion on any of that section of the public meeting? We have a resolution moved and seconded that the minutes of the council meeting held on March the 11th be approved. This is a regular council meeting. It's been moved and seconded. Any errors or omissions? All in favor of the minutes as presented? Opposed? Carried. Any discussion on those noted minutes? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Good morning. A question with regard to the Norwest Trail people that were here. Just wondering what happens with the last year in our budget, there was $3,000 for the Hearthstone Bridge. And I know that's part of the situation as far as trying to get these people, find an area where it joins up. I'm just wondering what's happening with that Hearthstone Bridge. Has there been any possible application to either FedNor or NW or the provincial government or anything? Last year we had $3,000 in the budget and didn't spend any of it. So is it just going to be left to see what happens to it, or is it going to be part of the bridge inspection that we approved last meeting? So just a question with regard to that, because that seemed to be the, part of the situation as far as that Norwest Trail that the Hearthstone Bridge was a concern.
I would think that the Hearthstone Bridge will be in the bridge assessment
Okay.
study this year.
Yeah.
But the bridge has come up several times. It keeps asking for millions of dollars to bring it up to snuff. So that's still there.
And the other question that I had was, we had received a budget variance report as of December the 31st. And the budget that is online indicates still November's total. So I'm just perhaps a question for the treasurer, if that's going to be updated on our website to have the December 31st totals on the website attached to the 25 budget.
I did not plan to update the budget since it's already been passed.
It's for the 24 totals though.
Okay.
Year-end totals.
I can certainly do that if council wishes. I'll have Christina put the information on the website.
As long as it's understood by the public that this is not a final, it's just it's pre-audited.
Yeah, it's like the the report said last month or last meeting. It's internal statements for management discussions only.
That's right.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, we now have the minutes of the special council meeting held on March the 17th. This motion has been, resolution has been motioned and seconded. Was there anything, sorry. I'm asking for the minutes of the special council meeting held on March 17th be approved. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any errors and omissions? Yes.
Just one further comment with regard to the Intola Fire Station. I have a concern that as far as the level of service, should that be chosen as one of the fire halls that should be closed, which I don't understand, but anyways, administration may not be aware that CRC has a tower on that property that was, an agreement with Oliver Township years ago, and that tower is still there. Canada Post has mailboxes there, and the Intola Rink is associated to that fire hall. So those are a few things that should something happen, I don't really think that, people up north are getting their fair share.
I don't consider that an omission because it wasn't discussed that night. So you could be, but it could be brought back in discussion, so we'll take it as such. But there was no errors or omissions. Okay, so all in favor? Opposed, carried, and now you've brought forth the one item for discussion. Is there any other items for discussion from that meeting? No.
Excuse me, the other thing that I had suggested was that we contact NWMO to see if they would be interested in providing us some funding for the fire department in any way, or our municipality in any way.
Okay,
So,
yes,
Yes, are we not going to discuss those issues under the fire station location review? The
yes,
meeting briefing, because
Yes.
I have some concerns and then I thought that's where I put.
That's
them.
where we are.
That's right,
That's where we're doing.
As long as- Fine, thank
Yes,
you.
no, perfect. Anything else for discussion for those minutes? No. Okay, the next item we have is the minutes of the Fire and Emergency Services on page 32. These are our minutes that they held for a meeting held on February the 18th. Is for information only. If there was any questions in regards to anything that happened at the minutes, the chief is here. Councillor Peacock.
thank you. It's not in the minutes. However, it was interesting to see the police had used the Kekabeka facility for drone training. Just a question, was it invoiced to, or was it not?
Yes. So these meeting minutes are after the fact. The police did contact me under very short notice to use the facility. They have not been invoiced yet, but they will be.
Any other questions in regards to the minutes? Okay, then we have the Fire Department Annual Report. It's for the report for 2024. It's for information only, page 36 to 42. So the fire chief is here. If there's any questions on this report. This can be noted that we had an extremely huge amount of medical compared to fire calls for the year.
Yeah, and you're so correct. And that's been my point all along. I don't know if we can do anything or not, but we need to get some help from the province. That's just a tremendous amount of workload for a volunteer fire department, where rescue is starting to take almost 80% of their calls. And, we need to have some help with that. And so I don't know, where did we go? I have no idea, but you've heard me complain about that many a times, and I don't know who to talk to or where to go, but I think we need to look at that and try and get some help.
If I could, so I do have a meeting requested in with CACT to talk. It's been a year with this MPDS system, which was supposed to reduce the number of medical page outs. So I have reached out to them. I don't have a date yet, but they have responded. And so hopefully by, they indicated kind of mid-April to be available to talk about it. So that's, I guess, kind of the first step. From there, it's going to be, basically a review of the level of service that we're going to respond to, and council's direction as to whether we go that route or increase it, decrease it, or whatever. But it is in progress.
Thank you.
Any other questions in regards to the report? It's very well done. It's a great, it's a great note on page 38 where they mention all the different courses you've held and how many fire halls in the whole area that have taken place with the training. So that's a wonderful thing. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you, and I do appreciate the report, Sean. Perhaps this question is for John. With regard to the donations, is that money in a separate reserve account, or is it just earmarked for how it's spent, or what happens with that?
The fire department donations no longer have a separate bank account. They were consolidated with the main bank account a few years ago. Before my tenure, I guess it was too expensive to maintain a separate account. They were losing money to fees. However, the money is recorded separately in the GL and tracked that way.
So if asked how much is in that account, you would be able to tell exactly what is coming from the donations,
Yeah, I would have
Yeah.
to.
but it is there. Sean?
And if I could add, we do track it by earmark. Or if somebody donates money for the fire department for training, it is earmarked for that, so we could break it down for the EFR people are donating for. Track that.
Perfect. Wayne?
When I reviewed this report, I was very interested to see on page 39 the amount of progress that's been made on certification. You can see there how many members we have with different certifications, and I talked with the chief, and we're well on our way to meeting the target of having the certifications pretty well in place for July 1 of 26.
Job well done by all of the firefighters and first responders. Any other questions? No? Yes, Councillor Viss.
I just picked up on this here. Now, the total fire department active members is 36. And to qualify for the right, we need 15 for each station. So times 6 makes 90. We're a little short, are we not? Or am I misreading this?
Yeah, so the FUS indicates to get the best rating, they're looking at 15 members per station. In my time, I don't know that we've ever been at that. When I started, I think there was 80 members, but there were a lot of EFR members. So yeah, we're short. That's why the FUS rating for many of the stations is at basically the bottom line. It is 36. We just brought on, I think, 8 or 9 recruits. So the numbers is an issue. It always has been, and it will continue to be, to keep people and to get those numbers up. But yeah, we're below the FUS numbers per station.
Okay, thank you. The next report is the fire station community, I'm sorry, there's the Community Wildlife Fire Protection Plan. We have a resolution moved and seconded to adopt the Community Wildfire Protection Plan that was dated December the 1st, 2024. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councillor Viss.
Yes, I have a question on it. If you look at the, just below the purpose, pending requested updates and changes to the draft wildlife protection plan and to adopt, why would we now accept this plan when there's a possibility of changes in it and we wouldn't know what the changes are? We've accepted it. Why would we not wait till we get the updated?
Yeah, so the plan, the draft plan was handed out in December with the intent to review the plan in preparation for this meeting, although we didn't have a date. And what I'm asking in that report is that if there are no comments from the review that you guys did on it, that we approve it and implement it. If you guys picked up on things that you didn't like on it that wanted changed, then it would be, we want this changed in it or addressed, and then it would come back with those changes in it.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood that. You're just, you presented that to us and we had the opportunity to go, it was just within house that to be changed. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so the draft was given to you guys along with
Yes.
the other one. To give an opportunity, instead of saying, here it is, let's talk about it, to review it.
Right.
And then at this meeting to say, we're okay with what's in here, or no, we don't like this. And then I would take that back and update the draft.
Okay, again, then my point is that as long as it was within house, if we had any issues.
Yeah.
Okay, then that clears that out. Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion on the resolution? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry,
Now,
Sean.
just so that you guys know what's the intent of the plan is to really have it on an individual basis, a property owner for us to educate them on what they can do.
Yeah.
To protect. So this isn't, and it's written in such a way that we're not saying we will do this by this date kind of thing. We're gonna educate the public, do some work with what they can do individually. And that's really the intent of the plan. So what I'm asking for is that if we're good with it, adopt it, give me direction to implement it, and then we can start with the education program and getting it out to people for the upcoming fire season.
Thank you. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just a comment. I noticed that in the paper the other day that the federal government has given $4 million to the First Nation organizations with regard to firefighter training. Is there going to be an expense to the municipality to implement this program?
There may be a small expense with respect to education material and that kind of stuff. We already, like the grant money we got last year for the fire caches and the sprinkler kits is part of this plan. At this point, I don't expect a big expense to the municipality to implement this. It's gonna be some time and education. The zone meeting last night there was a fair amount of discussion about this very topic. And it looks like there might be some direction to start pooling some resources from a wildfire protection standpoint. Don't want to say too much to put it out there, but yeah, next year there might be some budget stuff I put in, depending on how it goes this year with respect to this, but I don't expect a lot of money this year.
Any further questions? As there is none, I put forth the resolution that's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? It's been carried. Now, the next item we have is report 2025.65, and that's to debrief on the meeting that we held at the Roslyn Community Center in regards to fire station location review report and the written comments from some of the volunteer firefighters on the report and administration. So it is for discussion only, and I just open the to if anybody would like to make a comment about that evening and the items reported. Councillor Vish, you said
Sure,
you
I'll
had
start
some?
that off. I note stuff on and just I get for the discussion purposes, but anyway, I thought it was a lot of good information at the meetings that we've had. We learned a lot of questions and so on forth. But I think, before we go any further on it, we should wait till we have the public meetings. There's a possibility of getting more information that could help us make a decision one way or another. Now, there's a number of things that I think I would like to see. If you remember at that meeting, I brought out this document back from 23 meeting, and it showed the breakouts of all the calls, what calls they had. And for instance, like in here, Stanley had no fire calls at all. So and then the one we got at the meeting only told me and told that 18 calls and 11 calls. I could be wrong. I would like to see the breakdown, what kind of calls we've had in the last couple of years. I think that would certainly help me make a decision. Should we be closing or should we not be closing, or what should we be doing? And you've got to have that available because it was available here, so it still should be available. That's number one.
So if I could just respond to that. So that I looked into that, and that was part of the community risk assessment, those graphs. So it is certainly available. We can pull it out, but that's why it seems like it wasn't part of the master plan because it was a different report. It was the community risk assessment, but we can certainly pull that the data's all there, so we can certainly pull it out.
Well, and that's my point again, Don, because you see, you're asking me to sign off and saying this is how we're gonna do it. Well, you gotta give me as much information you can, because this is the key thing what we're doing here, and I like to have as much information as possible. And it has to be available, so I really appreciate if we get that, okay? Now, the next thing was also brought up, house insurance, need to know if it's fact that increase for every resident is about $100 a month. We need to know those kind of things. If that is the case, we got a real issue. If it is a hearsay, then that's fine, but we need to, that's facts that we need to know, okay? And again, what we need to do is what's the cost of running the two stations we're thinking of closing, and I'm thinking especially in Tola, because discussion was that we would talk to the city of Thunder Bay. We need to know, first of all, if they're interested. Secondly, how much are they gonna charge us? If they're gonna charge us way more than what it costs to operate it, that may help make a decision. Okay, so. And the next thing that is a little bit away from closing, I think, is the calls on rescue is high, and that's on MTO. Are we mandated as a fire department to go on provincial highways to help with rescues?
We're not mandated to do anything except for council's direction. So if council decides to not respond to provincial highway calls, that's a direction from council. Could we actually do that? I can't answer that at this point, but everything we do as the fire department is outlined in that enabling and regulating bylaw. And that's what tells us as a fire department what we're gonna do, and it's based on council's direction. So if council says we don't want to do any medical first response calls, that's council's direction. And so the same applies for structure fires, for extrication, for provincial highway calls, all of those things. They're outlined in that enabling bylaw. That's why it's so key and why it's been beefed up in that draft.
Okay, and to that, I just asked myself this question. If we're gonna continue to do rescue on provincial highways, the people that contract with the snow plowing and so on forth with the province have a standby fee. Could we approach them and see if we can get a standby fee to put to work? Because when you look at 9 vehicles and all the equipment, the 20,000 doesn't even hardly cover what we lose or on equipment that's sitting around and have to replace. It just suggested maybe and we may not go anywhere, but I thought if they're getting that, then why can't we, when we really do service for the MTO or for the province?
So that, I mean, that is something that's beyond the scope of any individual municipality. That would be a province direction. And I know there's been a lot of talk over many years about the costs that certain municipalities have because there's a provincial highway running through. And if you remember the comments that went in on certification, I put in about that very point that, you know, the level of service for a provincial highway shouldn't be dictated by a municipality. It should be dictated by the province, and then the province should be funding that. Because O'Connor, as an example, not to call anybody out, they've got 3 provincial highways running through their municipality. So if somebody gets in an accident on Highway 588, why should the level of service be different than one that's Highway 1117 that's going through? Yeah, well, we got more than 3. We've got 590, 588, 61, 102, 1117, 130. So that is certainly something that, you know, I guess through the Ontario Fire Chiefs, it could be brought up to lobby, but I agree 100% that the MTO billing is about cost recovery for operating expense.
That's it.
And that's it. So it's supposed to cover the gas and wages in the trucks, not the equipment that's required to do the certification training that's coming down the pipe with the technical rescue.
And then finally, in the report, as well as Greg Henry spoke of, excess equipment will be sold to put towards building a new one. I'd really like to see a report what we're gonna get. We got 15 and 20-year-old trucks that are single axle that are not even good for farm. And so you'd be lucky if you get $2,000 a truck. So when make the statements a number of times, like that's useless. We ain't gonna get nothing worthwhile. So basically, I just kind of picked things out and I thought for debriefing, I don't know if it goes anywhere, but I think that was our job to look
Mhm.
things over that. And I kind of thought I should clear these up and just something to think about and see, hopefully it goes somewhere. Anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments in regards to our debriefing, our meeting that we had in Roslyn? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. As mentioned earlier, I did have those few concerns with regard to the station up north, but getting back to the NWMO, if there is funding available, once again, we've got should the city decide the designated truck route, then the trucks come off of 102. I'm just not sure how they're going to be able to manage that. Either way, should everything move forward in the next few years, those trucks are going to be going through Kakabeka. So I think we need to keep in contact with that organization to ensure that our crew are trained for should there be an incident as well. So thank you.
I think I can guarantee you there's going to be some incidences on Highway 1170 with that increased traffic or some very close calls.
Can't do that. You can't
No.
send that down. It's terrible.
Yeah. Any other comments or anything you felt after the meeting that we had last week?
No, I think it was good.
Yes. Um,
Nothing that hasn't already been covered specifically, but I think it was a good meeting. It was really good to get the input that we did have. It was also good to get the letters that were sent by a couple of different fire department members. A lot of information in them, so looking forward to getting more information from the public if we hold public meetings.
Okay. I had some thoughts and discussions, and I just was wondering if we have the 6 fire halls, but I wonder if you can tell me if you've got the number of volunteers we have for each hall that we have.
Sorry, yeah, so current numbers,
Mhm.
Kakabeka, we've got 3 people there, 2 firefighters, 1 that's cross-trained.
Okay,
Murillo's got 10 people, 4 that are cross-trained, 3 EFR only, 3 fire only.
okay,
Intilo's got 2 firefighter and a cross-trained. Stanley's got 3, 2 that are cross-trained, 1 EFR. Roslin's got 9 with 6 firefighters, 2 that are cross-trained, 1 EFR only. And then Slate's got 6 with 1 cross-trained, 4 firefighters and 1 EFR only.
then my next question is, and I can go with only with 2024 calls at now, is how many calls were at each station last year? Would you have those?
Yeah, so that's in that report. It's on page 29.
Okay,
Is the calls per station
Mhm.
and the way we record them in Fire Pro is based on the IC for the call.
Okay.
So if I was IC on the call, then it gets put to Stanley Station. If it's Shane Zimmer out of Kakabeka, it gets recorded as a Kakabeka station.
so even if, yeah, okay, so,
So one of the issues or the problems we have is that we are really a full department response. We're
Mhm.
not an individual station response. So we can have calls all over the municipality and, we could have Slate, the fires in that area, but for whatever reason, nobody from Slate goes to it. It's somebody else. So so the numbers are, I guess you could say they kind of misrepresent the station responses, but it's consistently done that way.
okay.
And it's based on the IC.
Yes, because the thought that I've been having and is that I would suggest that we council think of this is just an option that I've been thinking of, is that we would close down in Tola and Stanley for a 6-month period. We could have an increase in Quebec, the 2 that are, sorry, the 3 that are now at Stanley. If they would go to Quebec, you'd then have 6. And in Tola could possibly then go to Morella, which you would then have almost your 15. I would like to suggest that we just think about closing those 2 for a 6-month period and then reviewing what is going on. Stanley is, it's absolutely true. You could stand on the roof of one and just about holler and the other people could hear you. It's a small station. It hasn't got a lot of facilities in it. And it's just a suggestion. I would not want to just close in Tola without having some kind of comparison. And you've got Quebec and Stanley very close together. I would that's my suggestion for a 6-month period. Come together again, review what has happened, how it's worked out or not worked out, and we can go further with that.
Yeah, so if I can respond to that, so it's important to remember in the report, they did the 3 recommendations based on the master plan. But it also talks in the report that council has the discretion to do whatever. They can adopt all of them, none of them, adjust them. So it's not out of the realm to say, let's, put on hiatus these 2 stations and see the impact on it. That's entirely at council's discretion. The other thing I would suggest is that 6 months might be too short of a period of time. So, do it for a year so that you get a better representation of all the seasons and the responses out of those stations, and then look at what the impact is on those. So that's entirely at council's discretion.
And then I have one more suggestion, is that you immediately start looking at what you want for a fire hall in Roslyn with the location of it, what kind of hall, put it out for RFQ or whatever, and that we start fighting with the province to get the funding for the majority of that fire hall.
Yep, that's again at council's
Because
discretion. and direction.
Roslyn is falling apart and every month it gets worse. And we're deferring making repairs to it because we know it's going to be gone. So if we could get a report from council from your department as to where it should go, what it should look like, and eventually get a price so that we could really look at it to begin next year
Yep, so I will
or this year.
talk to the officers group, get a working group together to put a wish list, for lack of a better word, to start the process of a station.
Yeah, because we've known this for quite a few years and we're just not moving forward on that part. That's my suggestion. Councillor Viss.
Yes, if I may, just to come. I had this kind of knowledge, but I thought I would leave it for the time being, but I do agree with you on a trial basis, but I think before we close in Tola, we need to know, will the city cover us? And we gotta make sure we find out, there's the insurance rate, is that true that if it's gonna cost $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year for residents, we can't just go and say close that up. Because if you close for a year or 6 months, doesn't matter, insurance will go up. I did think about closing one on a trial basis. Now, why are we not closing Stanley? Shane Zimmer said that it took 1.5 minutes from the corner to Ritchie Brothers. I couldn't believe that. The other day, took 2 minutes from the Stanley corner to the village. So we got a fire hall that has had no fire calls, just rescue and first aid. That's within 2 minutes from Kakabeka. Roslyn is approximately about 7 kilometers from the fire hall to Stanley Hotel. So I said to myself, why would we not try and see what happens when we close that one, when we have 2 that could just combine right in there, and there was no other things that brought it into play that would make it difficult. We do have that potential because the statements were made, you see, and we've made that agreement that we would talk to the city. We need to do that, I think, Lucy, before we even go on a trial. Really, we need to have that information because you just can't have people and all of a sudden the insurance go up and no coverage at all. And so And that was my, and so I agree with you, on trial base, I said, boy, but Stanley. Trial when we have two sides within minutes.
But again, it affects everyone in my area, myself included. When you're, when you say you're so many kilometers from a
Yeah.
fire hall, and you're talking about insurance. You know, I'm not, like I said, I was told by my insurance guy, it doesn't matter if you got a volunteer, we don't count it as a full working fire hall, so we're not gonna give you credit for it anyway. But we can always ask.
So yeah, if I may, just a couple comments. So yes, the distance between Stanley and Kekabeka is a short distance. But the consideration has to be the response circle around each of those stations. So what Stanley does, and I'm not trying to promote Stanley, but Stanley extends the response circle down into the southwest corner of the municipality. Whereas so the 2 minutes kind of is between the two stations, you have to look at a bigger picture. It's the people that are the extra 2 minutes down in the bottom southwest corner. Sorry, there's a lot going on in my head. The insurance rates, it's a bit of a loaded question because what is the actual impact on every person it's hard to determine because there's so many other factors. Speaking personally, my home insurance last year went up by $1,000 because of all the other factors that had nothing to do with the station. So it's kind of hard to get a fixed number on what these insurance impacts are going to be individually. Some insurance companies use FUS as their rating, some use their own. I've gotten calls on distances from 5 kilometers, 8 kilometers, 10, and up to 13 kilometers. Some of them are by road, some of them are by the crow flies. So it's based on the insurance company. So it's really difficult to say what is the impact on any different factor to the insurance rate on it. There was a third point I wanted to address. I can't remember what it is now, so.
I guess the conversation.
Thunder Bay, yes, the agreement. So 8 agreements is something that is on the table to discuss with all departments. As an example, Kasistu Road. Our town line stops at basically fire number 90. The fire number at the end of the road is 245 or something like that. That's CAM. So CAM comes all the way down through our municipality, past the fire hall up into that area. 8 agreements has not been something that we've talked about in a long time, but we need to. So it's on the table. There are discussions with certain municipalities to enter into agreements to start reducing the workload. An important note, that's one of the big things with shared services and the agreement, so that we're all at the same level. So that if we do enter into an agreement, what's going to cost us is if we are exterior only in the city's interior, we're increasing our level of service, then that's when we're really going to start paying. So it's on the table.
But we would have confirmation, for example, that if there was a fire in Intola, the city would respond if they were contacted.
It would be an agreement that we'd put in place. And by the way, right now, if I call
Right now
the
it's
city of Thunder
mutual
Bay to say we need help, they're going to send a truck from Maple Ward.
Yeah.
I mean, that's there. It's just not official and it's not, it's under the umbrella of mutual aid.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Question for Sean. You indicated the number of firemen, fire personnel and EFR people per station. That totals 33. We had 36 in this report. And I'm just wondering, out of those 33, how many do not reside in Oliver Papoonge?
I'd have to dig that up. There's a couple that are on the boundaries. Myself, I don't live in the municipality. And the number discrepancy, the numbers I gave you is based on today.
Okay, yeah,
So we lose people all the time, unfortunately, and we gain people all the time. So that would explain the discrepancy between the two. We also have some people that are on leaves.
okay,
So they're on the roster still, but they're just not active for kids or whatever. I'd have to give you a number off the top of my head. I think we got 3 or 4 that are outside of the municipality. But for those that have sat in on our officers' meetings, when we get new recruits, the main reason we're not taking people is because they're too far outside of the municipality.
Mhm.
So if they're right on the boundary, or if they're a longstanding member and they move out of the municipality, then we will typically leave them on.
Now, when you pay the VFIS insurance for the fire personnel, is that based on active members, or do you just have is it just a lump sum that gets paid?
It's a lump sum based on the estimated number of members for the year. I think we paid for this year. Again, I'd have to check. I think it was like 40 people we paid for
Mhm.
the year.
Mhm.
And technically, I'm supposed to update the list. If for 1 or 2 people, I don't.
Mhm.
If, this time we got, I think, 8 new people coming. I'll have to review it and
Mhm.
send an update on it.
And I know that this decision with regard to the Roslyn fire station replacement and this was all discussed prior to the previous election. But at that point, the report back from 2022 indicated the fire hall station replacement would be $600,000. I'm sure it's going to be a whole lot more, but again,
So yeah, that was an estimate that was put in before the realization of post-disaster buildings and all the rest of that. That dollar figure was based on an estimate from when we built Kekabeka,
You're looking at double at least that amount.
looking at double that.
For sure.
But remember, Kakabaka is the highest standard fire hall we have that should withstand all tornadoes and all. I remember that going in, and I forget why we had to go that route, but.
This new one. This new one will have to too.
And we had to sort of, that was the reason was.
Yeah.
It was a post-disaster building and there was grant funding that came in, part for, for fire station, but
Mhm.
also an alternate EMC. Yeah, and it was, I believe, in the just shy of 400,000 at the time. So that's where I came up with the 600. It was just throwing a dart on the wall, to be perfectly honest. And, with COVID and what's going on in the world now, we can at least double probably the expected cost.
For sure. Wayne?
I just wanted to comment that we built a few years ago, I guess it was 3 or 4 now, the ambulance base in Kekabeka, and that's post-disaster. It's got 1 bay, it's got some living quarters, but it was about 1.1 million.
And we'll be looking at probably 4 bays.
This is why I know it's going to be much more expensive. But this is the time to start working with the provincial government to see that we get the funding when the time comes. So, yes.
Yeah, just one more on that location, because Bernie made mention of those letters that one person had a really good, I thought, a good point, because how many people would you have within 6 minutes versus industrial? And so well, I thought that was very well put, and I said, we certainly got to consider that. Relocating from Roslyn to the proposed lot here. I think we better do some soil testing in here, because if you're going to have 4 of those large overhead doors and we're into this swamp situation, you know what's going to happen to your doors. Doesn't take very much, and that door ain't going to come up because it's all on rollers. So, to build here versus in Roslyn, which is all sand, boy, you got to really you just don't go because of the location. The cost is going to be way higher here than it will be somewhere. I thought the idea would be corner of 130 and Roslyn Road, but we don't own that property, because ideal, nice, and it's right on the highway. It serves all ends, but I don't know if we can make a deal on that land or not.
I mean, there's a lot of considerations that go into it.
Thank you.
And the ground and like, that's all, to be honest, somebody else is gonna figure all that out. The biggest issue that I see, and I'm speaking on my own opinion, is there's not enough space at the current Roslyn station
Right.
to get a bigger building in. The other major consideration that, that we have to remember is that it's gonna take more than 1 year to build a station.
That's why we have to.
And if we put it at the current Roslyn station location, we need to put those trucks somewhere while the station's getting torn down and rebuilt. So, that's a major component to it. I know the city on the one that they had to replace, they put up a temporary structure for 2 years.
Mhm.
And where are we gonna put that?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of considerations on it. The big consideration for this location is that one, it is a central location. It does improve city response. We have the property. It does open opportunities to expand. And it keeps the station open. So, but if a study comes back and says not here, then it's not here. We gotta figure somewhere else.
Yeah. But
Bay,
We need to plan because it's gonna be for 50 years.
or Bay.
4 bays and it talks about a ladder truck in the thing. I'm not trying to buy a ladder truck, but there's a real possibility within the life of that station that we're gonna have a big truck in there.
mhm.
And we gotta build a plan for that.
But I would really appreciate if we could start that process today, because we've been talking about it for a couple of years a year goes so fast, and then it takes a couple of years before it's built. So, you've got a building in Roslyn that is just disintegrating to the point that it would be unsafe for the men to be there.
So what I'm getting is I will strike a group up and we'll start putting a design together to start the process of
Mhm. Perfect.
moving down the path of a station.
And we're going to start working the money aside for the fire hall. Okay.
Would the Agriplex be a suitable location?
You
It's
could-
on the other side of the bridge, but it would cover, it close the Slate River and cover Roslyn.
No,
That's
you're on
correct.
the other side of the river,
Yeah.
and you're quite a distance from Roslyn.
Yeah,
And
you're-
this is the
And this
high
section, yeah.
industrial area,
And
yeah.
you're right close to Slate, so it changes the whole dynamic.
Close Slate.
And close to Kakaraka, you want to close everything and have one fire hall.
But we gotta remember, right here is an industrial hub.
Yes,
And just a kilometer down is like 70% of our population's in this circle, so we gotta be in the center here somewhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right.
yes.
Thank you. With a new highway proposal for this intersection here, then I don't know if it would be of any interest to contact the people who had the Carol's Cakes there, and that lot, that would be kind of central. If this property isn't sufficient, should that proposal come forward, just thinking of lots that may come available. That would be you've got your, well, maybe you have your access egress for the corner of the highway, but it all depends what MTO decides to do with that corner as well.
There's a lot of variables that,
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with the mayor. The first point is let's start
Get
looking at a
going.
building
Mhm.
and,
Mhm.
from a property standpoint, depending on what the building is gonna be, then you can look at, like, there's a lot of, this isn't
No.
a lot of, and if we gotta be careful, we don't go down the what if road and it's
Mhm.
stalls the whole process because we're
Right.
trying to
Yeah.
solve all these problems that are.
And it's not one of those build it and they will come. That's not going to happen. But with regard to the Intola station, that property was donated. What happens then?
Are there any terms and conditions? I don't know the
Yeah.
decision.
Mhm.
Is there anything in the donation that restricted it? Otherwise, it's our property and we can do what we want with it. Similar to somebody who donates to the museum.
Mhm.
Could look at the title of that property and see if there's any covenants on it. I don't know.
That's right.
I think this is that test, so I'm just gonna step over.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, the dam test,
Be in there too, but.
OPG. Oh, my house is being flooded right now, and you're sitting here and you're not doing anything.
We got insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just cleaned it really well yesterday and it's gonna go on clean.
But Mayor Lucy, I think you're right. We should start the
We can
process.
start.
And we can question and have suggestions as we move along,
Right.
and then, so we're not in a rush. Let's just take it step by step, and everybody thinks of something, but you gotta start somewhere.
gotta
And if we're
start.
not gonna start, then cancel the whole
Yeah,
thing.
no.
You know, let's see where we end up with some of the recommendation that the fire department comes with, and,
And I'm sure that whoever will quote on it will do testing on the
oh, they have.
soil. They have
Oh,
to,
for
yes.
sure.
Okay. All righty. So the next item we have is the fire station location review. We're gonna have open house meetings. And we're looking for 2 dates. We have, the resolution has been moved and seconded with no dates marked in them, but it's one at Roslyn Hall and one at, my thing is upside down, and one at Murillo Hall. So we're not going to do it in March, obviously. Yes.
Yeah, in the report, there was a couple of dates suggested. April 29th in Murillo and May 6th for Roslyn. And, you know, we were concerned about that taking, you know, being a bit off, you know, in the future, but, there's some preparation that's got to be done and, other things that are need to be done as well. So those dates are, you know, over a month from now, but
Can you give us those dates again for the,
They're written right in the report.
yeah, on
Okay.
page 59. April 29th, Murillo, and May 6th, Roslyn. Those are the ones that the fire chief thought were workable for him.
April 29th is good, May 6th is good, so I'm okay with them.
Yeah, can I just make a suggestion? I looked at that too, and for our newsletter, it's too late, so they wouldn't get it. So I think we should almost move to May.
Mhm.
We contacted Chris Vaclav and we can send her a notice after the meeting today and it'll go into the April
Oh, well,
newsletter.
that's good. That helps clear that up. Then you can go into May, because I think what I'd like to see in the newsletter, large headlines, 2 public meetings on relocation of fire halls and so on.
Yeah,
But
make it
then-
large.
Yeah, you know, make sure it's right front page and big, large sign. Please come and give
Mhm.
us your opinion. Yeah, then that's
Yeah.
fine, Wayne. That's good. I'm glad you did that. That's good. So May the 6th, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, John.
No, you're fine. I do have a concern that not everybody gets the newsletter. Not everybody, they may get it, but they don't read it.
Yeah, they're in a
Right.
pile at the post office on the floor.
Exactly. So how are we gonna get, like, this is really imperative that the ratepayers be notified of these meetings. Other than the newsletter, how are we gonna get that out to anybody?
You can get posters, you could put it on the website.
And is this fire master plan a public document that,
There it is.
so it's way too much to put on our website, but no, you don't think it is?
That can be posted on there and the location review, the 2023 plan.
Mhm.
Yeah, certainly, and we can put the ads on our Facebook and
Mhm.
and then we can also distribute them in places like the Odina Foods and
Yes, you
Other
got
places.
Merlot, you got
Yeah.
Kekabeka, you got
Good
here in
idea.
Roslyn, you
Big
just put up
poster
some
out. That's a
poster.
good idea.
That People are always seeing who's lost their dog or who's got a truck for sale. It's always up there.
And can I suggest that they should a poster be put up? Put it where the polling stations are gonna be on the 28th because the meeting would be the next night, so.
Right.
So,
I'd take one for the Legion too, because I have over 300 people there. One day a month, then for sure, so they'll be
Yeah.
seeing it. Mind you, a lot of them are not living in a municipality, but excuse me, if one person hears about it, for example, in Roslyn, everyone will hear about it pretty darn quick. We could put one even at the Roslyn station there where, not the station, fire station, but the business across from the community center, because he has a lot of local business. They'll see it
And
there
then-
too.
and you have the what did the, Holland, I'm getting like him, Sean.
Santa
Where they
Rosa.
have the new health unit in there.
Yes,
We
in
put it in
Northwest
there.
Northwest.
Oh, yeah, and in the other drugstore, yes.
My goodness, Sean, don't do that to me.
But you have to make sure you put in there that it's the Oliver Papoonge Fire Station relocation, and not that they all coming from all different municipalities.
No, no,
thinking
just,
it's
no, you're
theirs.
right.
Yeah. But yes, what time would you like the meetings to start? 6:30?
Make sure people are home from 7.
Can start at 7. It
Okay.
doesn't matter to me.
And what
Summer.
dates have we got?
You won't be here? You're not gonna listen to them?
Both.
Okay. We'll make note of that in the public. No, I'm just kidding.
We moved them both to May, so you're available for one of them.
You could, it's up to you guys. I'm going, I'm back on that 8th of May, so.
Oh, well, we could change something there. As a matter of fact, we could change them both to May the 6th and another date. Yes,
I just wanted to comment that these things are open houses. They're not council meetings.
no,
So open houses are a little different than what you have in the public meeting. Yeah, there's not every one person speaks and so forth. It's like the bird construction or the OPG thing at the Legion, where you come in and there's different people and they talk and so forth. So it's kind of hard to capture it, everything. You can have a suggestion box and you can, try
you'd
to
have to mill
record
around and hear what
own
people are saying.
comments.
They'd OPG, they had all different posters and they had people
Mhm.
stationed at every one. And you just walked around and listened to the residents and what they were asking questions of.
And that's a good point, what Wayne just said, though. We could have a box, suggestion box or information to us and have some paper there and write down and throw it in the box.
Mhm. Yeah, yes.
By the same, on the same lines, you'd probably better off to start it earlier than something like 6. You could start it at 4 or 5 then too.
Get some, because there's
Yeah.
some seniors that don't want to go out in the evening.
Yeah, and then you catch
Yeah,
people that
well,
are on
that's
their
true.
way
Yeah.
home from work. kind of thing.
You run
On their way home from
4
work,
to 8 or something, or
Yeah.
8:30.
4 to 8 or something like that. Yes,
So this idea for Councillor Campoff to be able to attend, we can go with the May 6th for Roslyn, but we should change that April 29th date. Is that what
mhm.
Council's thinking?
You're back on the 8th?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
well, we have,
the 6th is no good too then.
we could have one on the 12th, which is a Monday.
Yeah.
And on that same week, we could have one on the 15th. No, but I think it's good that you're there. This is an important topic, the 12th and the 15th, or are you gone?
I have to check, but we'd also have to check with Greg Hankio to make sure he's available. He's available for these 2 dates we put out.
Oh, okay.
So we'd have to check to make sure he's available on a different date, which is fine. But the other concern is that we got to get this to the paper like today.
Yes,
So if it's after that, if it's later dates, we can't get it in today, then we have to figure out how else we get it out to the public
mhm.
because of the newspaper deadline.
And can you find out from this gentleman that if the 12th and 15th work out?
I could call him, yeah.
Yeah,
or
because
text.
that's a Monday and a Thursday and the council meetings in between, but then it's a long weekend. So the 12th and 15th is the middle week in April, Monday night and a Thursday night.
That way we could get it into the newsletter 2 months in a row as well, if that's an option.
Well, even for the May one, it'll be too late to get, I suppose maybe not.
Not the 12th, it should
The
be
12th
okay.
It will be all right, but
The
it, yeah,
12th and the 15th should be okay. Then we're not putting anything in April.
Sean, while you're away though, you just said that as long as after meeting, we get a hold of the lady, she'll have it in this.
yeah,
Yeah,
so I can.
so if you
text.
can call and confirm with him that the 12th and 15th would be okay, I don't care which hall is which. Could
And
pick
then we gotta
whichever
make
date.
sure the station or the halls aren't booked.
So if you check those dates.
Good point.
So we'll
Moving.
come, let us just defer, and we're just gonna defer this. You're gonna go out walking after when we have a break and find out if the halls are booked those 2 nights.
Right.
And our chief is gonna make a phone call, and we can just come back. We'll just defer this one till the end of the meeting. to be sure. I think it would be good for all of us to be there.
Anyone know dance plans for that week?
Any what?
Counselor Calvert's plan?
Yeah, he's only gone for 3 weeks, I believe, right now. He'll
Yeah.
be back for the next meeting, he said.
It's cool.
Yeah, usually only when it's cold is right. Hopefully May isn't.
Well, I think we don't know, maybe really cool.
Careful.
Okay, so the next item we had was an award. The resolution's been moved and seconded to award the RFQ for the Kekebeka Fire Hall washroom upgrades to Per Hall Construction. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Councillor Peacock?
2 questions. Was the treasurer involved in this? Yes, okay, thank you. And will it require a building permit?
I'm sure that the building department will take care of it.
Okay.
It requires a building. I mean, it's public knowledge, so the building department knows about it.
Okay,
The resolution has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item is the RFQ for the crushing, screening, stockpiling of gravel. We have a resolution. It has been moved to recommending the award of it to Burnt Gilbertson Enterprises. It's open for discussion. As there is none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. And an award of the municipal building assessments. This resolution has been moved and seconded to award this proposal to MS Architects. And where the fees will be coming from, both from the working fund and the budget itself.
Just
Yes,
a question, it says, finalize the overall building assessment for all buildings that have not had recent assessment. How many buildings have we got that haven't been done?
yes.
Yeah, when I was looking at the report, I thought, yeah, it doesn't say where we're going with
Right.
this. So I did capture that information.
Thank you.
The assessment will cover the office. The 5 buildings at the the OPHP, the Heritage Park. And the 5, it doesn't specify, but I believe that would be the ones that we are have currently open. That would be the church, the teacherage, the
General store?
yeah,
Not that
no,
one?
the training station, and the Slate River Hall, I believe. Would be those key pieces,
Okay.
the garage. Russ's garage, yeah, not the places that are the old ones belong to the founders place. The other buildings are all 6 fire stations, the 2 community halls, the Norwest Recreation Center, and the PW garage. So that's pretty well all of our major buildings that are covered in this study. So I did think for the price under 30,000, it's quite a big workload there, but this company did come in a lot lower than the rest, and that's what we've got.
Okay, yes.
Just clarification on the Heritage Park. I thought I remember when I was in the board that the hall, the train station, and they were all done. That's why they were allowed to be open. Am I wrong or am I forgetting something?
What it says here in the report is we're looking at the ones that haven't been evaluated
Yeah.
for some time. So they may have been evaluated 5 years ago, but they're looking at them again.
To look at them again.
Because I thought they were done because
Yes.
that was the only ones we could keep open, the ones that had been done, correct?
Because they're public buildings, they'll have to reassess them every
Yeah.
so many
Okay,
years.
that's the reason.
Just take a look at it every once in a while.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you.
So again, with resolutions been moved and seconded, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we have a revision of bylaw 05-2025, which is the waste management and landfill site punch cards. There's a copy on our desk of the punch card tracker
Mhm.
for your information. So there has been a revision in that bylaw. It has been moved and seconded. Okay, is there any discussion on this? Counselor Viss?
Yes, I made it. I couldn't sign it because I went and dug through more and more stuff. I with some issues and. So here, this is what I come up with. Bylaw 05/2025 punch card. The intent of the bylaw is to stop the abuse of our landfill, which has been reported to council by staff, and secondly, inform all the residents of allowable waste and the number of trips to make either. And I think that's good. The intent of it was really good. Now, the problem is here, the first is the abuse. This so far is only hear and say. There are no facts to support this. We have never received who, how, often, how much. So by staff to council, this information has to be available in order for us to support that. I really have difficulty trying to support that without any information. If there's only one person doing once a year, we're going through all this stuff, okay? Second, all right, these are for people that do things right. Residents, and let's use the agriculture card. Today, if they wish, they can go to the landfill 104 times a year. As of next week, they can only go 24 times a year. I thought either these people are abusing it, or we're certainly taking away a privilege that they've had all these years. For what reason? They get 24 punches for 1 year.
So they only get a card with 6 punches in each card?
It says right in there, they get 24 punches for 1 year.
Not in
So
a
we
quarter.
cut them out of 8 trips. Now, the thing I was saying about that sometimes, well, say you wash and dry and go, so you throw in your truck. Sucker, there goes another one of my punches. But I don't think that's right at all that we're doing that, so. Then anyway, and then the next one was, this one really bothered me somewhat. I asked at the beginning of the discussion about hobby farms. That's when it was first put out into the newsletter, and some of the people that have hobby farms came to me. And I brought it up, and I said, I'll bring it up. Discussion in general was that, well, we should be able to fix out something, a hobby farm, agriculture, rural. Because if you look at our zoning bylaw, it says allowable use in rural zone is agriculture use, agriculture related use. So it's in here, and it tells them that you can have 3 animals per hectare. So there's agriculture definitely in rural. And so when I said that, so anyway, the next time we had a council meeting on that, I brought it up again because nothing had said. At that time, the director of operations said, this was a statement. The residents will only get a card what they're assessed at. I didn't want to argue anymore because, first of all, that's not his role to say who's going to get what. That's these people that are elected here. We are the ones that decide who's going to get what card. So I think he really overstepped his role about saying this is how it's going to be. Anyway, I didn't because, and again, you see we're public notice, but I have to bring this up. So the next day, or the day after, I phoned the CEO, and I said, how come when, we didn't address that hobby farm rural? And I said, beside that is what the CEO or what the director of operations said. Wayne's answer to me was, yes, Alan, he oversteps his bounds every now and then. And that was left at that. And so we're still haven't addressed my concern, and that makes me look like a dummy. Because I said to the people we would look at it, we didn't even do that. Staff decided for whatever reason, no, we're not doing that. That's wrong. We are elected officials. When we bring forth a question or something, at least give us an answer. If it's not workable, I can live with that, but at least tell me why it's not workable. When all our reports allow that in there, so I cannot support this, and if it's voted on because it moved in second, I want to be part of vote, because at least then I can tell the people that I talked to, look, I did my best. I couldn't get the support to get that.
I just wanted to comment about the agricultural card and the residential issue. Because on page, I have to find it here, I just had it. Yeah, on page 77, it says, any property that has residential tax classification is entitled to residential cards. This may result in having two types of punch cards for a property. So if you have an agricultural property and you also have a residence, you'll get an agricultural card and a residential card. If you have a commercial property with a residence on it, you'll get a commercial card and a residential card. And the next part I'd like to mention is on page 78. It's section 2.12. Yes, so any property rural has agricultural or hobby farm may be entitled to agricultural cards. The owner may request agricultural cards from Director of Operations, who may approve the cards. And if in the opinion of the director, the agricultural or hobby farm use is significant enough to warrant agricultural cards, the entitlement on an agricultural card may be reduced at the discretion of the Director of Operations, and that may result in having two punch cards for the property. So somebody who's got say a residential property in a rural zone, they could get an agricultural card for their hobby farm or agricultural use.
Agree with that where the point comes in. The residential card gives them 24 punches for every 3 months. If I go to agriculture, I get 24 punches for the whole year. So why would you do that? You need a combination there. Is what's
That
in my
you will
point.
get, you will get two cards.
No?
You'll get
Wanna
two
the
cards.
two card?
Yeah, two
Correct.
cards.
So I'm gonna get the second card.
You have to prove that it's got an agricultural
You'd have
use.
to ask us about it, of course, but we've already been looking at that, the persons who have a property that has multi tax rate property. If you've got a residential component, you're gonna get a residential card and also the main card for whatever it is you are, commercial property or agricultural property. You'll get the two cards.
So let me be very clear. Most of these hobby farms are zoned rural. Okay, so they get a residential card.
Right.
If I have a hobby farm, I can come to the office here and say, I have a hobby farm and you'll give me an agriculture to boot.
Alan, your microphone's not on.
Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct, but there has to be some type of a test of that plan. If someone has, 20 chickens and that's it,
That's not.
that's not significant
I
enough.
understand that.
If somebody's got, 3 cows or 8 cows or something like that on a hobby farm, they should get an agricultural card.
Okay,
In addition to whatever they are, if they're a residential property and they got a hobby farm, they'll get the agricultural card. If they've got an agricultural related use, it's got to be of significance, so a hobby farm or agricultural use. It's got to have some significance. You can't just have a vegetable garden, 40 square feet or something or other and expect an agricultural card.
no, and I understand that, Wayne, and that's good. As long as who decides whether if I have 6, 7, 8 horses, 4 horses or 3 cows, where do you get, so you can get the both cards? How do I explain that to these people that are asking
You
me?
have to talk to the office here and the Director of Operations will make that decision. And of course, if the Director of Operations makes a decision that the resident is not content with, they can always appeal to council like anything else.
Okay, well, then that satisfies my, because then you see, they can get that, so that's what I've been saying, I think you can get the both, as long as you can get the both. But that'll that'll give him an extra 24, so that should do them for the year. Okay.
Councillor Campoff?
So I know I spent some time thinking about this on my own situation because I have 3 residences and a significant agricultural operation.
Yes.
And I can't quite do it on just the residential cards, but almost on just the residential cards. And I don't have 3 cows, I have 400 cows.
Yes.
So I think the most sensible thing the answer to give people that are concerned about how hobby farms is say, look, I think we've got a pretty reasonable amount of punches on the residential cards already. Try it out for a few months. If it looks like you're going to run out, well, then you can appeal to to the municipality and say, hey, I need a resident or an agricultural card in addition to my residential card. I think the vast majority of people, because I can't imagine, there's not a lot of garbage produced by most hobby farms.
No.
I mean, there's a little bit of packaging and stuff like that, some bale wrap or something. But I can't imagine that the vast majority of people are going to be running out of punches on the residential cards. I just don't understand how they're going to run out. Like it doesn't, I think we're being more than reasonable, and I think we have the way this bylaw is written, the way we have options for people that are finding, and there's going to be cases that may fall outside what we've set up, and we have options for them. So I think it's a reasonable bylaw.
Just come back to you on that, and you're right, and that's exactly what I've been telling people. I said, you have 24 punches for every 3 months. If you go agriculture, you get limited, so make sure that's what you want to do. But if you can get one with it, then that's fine. And I tell them, besides that, we have 2 weeks a year where you have free, so you have that option also. But I have told them that, and that's what but I didn't realize that they can get both, and that's was my concern. The only concern is, again, is the agriculture, just 24 punches for a whole year.
But anybody who has an agricultural card will also have a residential because every farm has a home. Right? If years ago when we had a quote, we were a hobby farmer, we have a home card and we would then, if we required, have an agricultural, you've doubled up.
And I'll have to look at the farm, it's just.
But you have to look at it. Like, for example, if you have, even 5 horses, how much garbage does 5 horses produce that has to go to the landfill site? I'm not counting what else is around, but you might have twine, you might have some plastic or bags, or I'm not quite
paper
sure.
bags
You
and
know
all
better
that.
than that. But you could probably add that to what your residential garbage and still be fine with the 24.
Okay, I'll have to check that agriculture.
Yeah.
If they get a residential, then they're okay. Otherwise,
think
the
so.
24 is not going to be, that's putting too
I-
much strain. You're taking away a privilege that they've had.
Yeah,
So
but
you
I
gotta be
would
able to
say-
allow them to come.
I would suggest a large farm, a large operation that's their 100% way of making a living would probably want to have the 2 cards because they do have a lot more going to the landfill site, but not because you have some goats or horses. I can't see. Most of the product you get from horses goes back on the field again. It doesn't go into the landfill site. So yes, Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. With the landfill punch card tracker report that we also received, it appears that most people are not having an issue with the situation that we have. I have a concern, though, that was my understanding it was the landfill site attendance decision as to how many punches he gives people or whatever. He shows up when someone pulls up at the landfill site. And everywhere in this bylaw, it just keeps saying Director of Operations. Well, is he going to be on standby all Saturday waiting for phone calls from the attendant?
If you look at page 78, new section 2.15, says Director of Operations is authorized to be flexible at the landfill gates, and it says delegate authority to other municipal employees. So Chris can put together procedures, provide instruction, et cetera, to the other persons, so they have discretion as well, eh?
Yeah, they'll use the discretion of those that are at the landfill gate. Okay, so we have this resolution. It's been moved and seconded. Yes, certainly.
Somewhere along the line, but there's in camera, so can we have some idea how many people, because it's all recorded, are abusing our system? It's gotta be all recorded, because I don't need names. You'll all have numbers. Number 11,500 has been there 10 times in that week. That's gotta be recorded. Otherwise, you can't determine who's abusing the system. It has to be recorded. Otherwise, you can't just make a statement, we're abusing the system.
Well, it has. There's been less people at the landfill site than there was before, because those that were coming illegally are not coming anymore. Yes.
Yeah, I could just comment that Chris has been told by his attendants that the visits at both sites are down 30% since this rolled out.
Mhm.
I don't know maybe why that would be, but the information that Councillor Viss is asking about cards, et cetera, and what visits and that, I don't have that here today.
No,
We'd
No,
have
but
to
I think
compile
here's
it.
my question, Wayne. If I go there 5 times, every time I have to tell them my number and they record that.
Mhm.
So every day they are open and they see my number 5 times, say, wait a minute, Alan, that's not coming from your house. That's my point. How many are doing that? And you gotta have that recorded. And if we're down 30%, you gotta have that recorded. That's great. That's what we're looking for.
I'm sure that Director of Operations has those numbers for you. Yes.
Yes, I had asked for that previously, a report from the landfill to say, the numbers and busy times, or, how many people go at which days landfill's busier and things, and he said that wasn't available. So, but it's my understanding that the landfill attendants have tablets, and that's why we bought them, for them to record all this information. Wasn't available at the time.
I do,
The busy time is. Everyone's got a phone. So we could perhaps reach out to Google because they'll be able to tell us when where the busy times are because of the delays of the phones. So
no, I'm sure that we can come up with something, but I'm not sure how much work that is going to be. But I do know that I remember reading in a report from the Director of Operations, how many fewer cards were handed out now than before. So, and it would be, I think, not quite right to do a report now about how low it's gone, because we're not even in this 100%. We're just starting the process. So, yes.
I recall those figures from the last meeting. We issued 3,249 sets of cards because it's so many properties we had. And the landfill access cards we have are 3,775. So we've got 526 more cards that don't belong to property owners.
So. Okay, so again, we have the resolution moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on this resolution? All in favor? Opposed? I'm in favor. Remain opposed. Page 99 to 100 is a 2024 statement of remuneration and expenses. There is no resolution. It is for your information only or discussion, if you so wish. Well, if you don't send in reports asking for reimbursement, then you're not going to be on the list.
Right. Exactly.
I don't put in for mileage. I never do. So, but yes, it is what it is.
the way the bylaw is written now is that there is no affirmative requirement for councillors to submit. So there's only rules upon when or if they submit.
Yes.
There is the further expenses. So
Right. Okay, any comments or questions in regards to the report? Nope. All righty, the next item is the use of Russ's Garage Automotive and Racing Collection Building sign. We have a resolution moved and seconded to allow that logo to be used for this gentleman's Greg DuPont's race car. Any comments, questions in regards to this item? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I was at that museum meeting when this was discussed. Which logo is it? I know there was some discrepancy as to the logo the sample logo that we had as opposed to the one that is now on the garage itself. So which logo is it? Go ahead. Sorry.
There were two versions of this sign. The initial one was a car that was donated to the municipality The car that is on the sign on the building, that's what we're talking about, is a car that still belongs to Russ's wife. So, as it says in the report, we had to ask her, Elaine Wanzak, about using that image because it's a car that still belongs to her. And she was okay with it. But that's what would appear on this fellow's race car is an image of the sign that's on the building right now with that red and white car that Russ Wanzak's wife owns.
Okay, any other discussion? Or against? We have a resolution moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have a resolution in regards to single source of hydraulic cutter and batteries. And it's in regards to using this one company only to purchase this item. Perhaps Sean can explain why.
Yep, so we currently run Hearst Hydraulics. We have a combi tool, which is a spreader and a cutter, along with a ram, which is an extending tool. We're single sourcing the cutter so that the batteries are interchangeable between the current tools and this new one. And then the second item is replacement batteries for the two existing tools. So instead of going out and doing a proposal for a new tool, which might mean different batteries and the whole bit, that's why we're single sourcing it.
Okay, so the resolution has been moved and seconded. It's open for discussions. Councillor Viss?
Where are you gonna put this equipment? At the last meeting, it sounded like you had no room for what you have now.
It'll fit on Rescue 13, the cutter.
Cause the new truck is still sitting here. Why is that being used?
The new Rescue, we're waiting for the Deckling appointment to get it put on. And that truck will have the forestry slip-on unit along with medical response stuff. So I don't have a date yet for the decals. That's why that truck's sitting there. This hydraulic, it was never intended to go on to that new Rescue.
You got room for it.
On 13, I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions or talk, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Is this coming from the States?
The company is out of Southern Ontario. And there is no tariff on it. I think it references in there. This is an in-stock tool. So there's no tariffs being applied to it. There was only 3 of them left. It's last year's model, so it's new, but it's
Count.
last year's model. So once the 3 are gone, then that's it. And yeah, after this, then we'll have to look on it. But the new model was, I believe, another $3,000 or $4,000. And it could be impacted by tariffs, so it could be even more than that.
Now, with having 3 of these pieces of equipment now, will any of the existing ones be put through to surplus, or are you planning on having all 3?
So this is an addition to our tool complement for hydraulics. So this is a dedicated cutting tool. The combi tool that we have that's a battery operator is a combination spreader cutter. So you compromise on power for both spreading and cutting. This is a dedicated cutting tool, and after the certification course last year, the newer vehicles, it's more about cutting than it is about spreading. So it's not replacing a tool. This is an addition. The heavy hydraulics that were now on 33, those are getting put on a new truck with new tools. So the new pumper Rescue. And once that comes in, then we'll evaluate the surplus of the existing hydraulics. But that's going to be towards the end of the year before we know what's going to happen.
Councillor Viss?
One further question. See, that's scary when you put me on the committee. You see, I get the inside troop. The rescue unit where this is going on, where is it stationed?
At Kekabeka.
Why would it not be at in Tola when Highway 102 creates all the accidents?
Well, 102 doesn't create all the accidents. There
Okay.
are accidents on 102.
Yeah.
I'd have to pull numbers out to the actual
Okay.
locations, but the majority of the accidents are on the 11 corridor. And there are tools in Kekabeka and at Roslyn. Roslyn's got our heavy equipment. So that's got the bulk of the big stuff. Kekabeka's got the hydraulic stuff on it. Intila's got a gas powered combi tool out there. So, you know, there's a bunch of factors that I don't know that I want to get into on this, but
No.
but that's why it's gonna go with the hydraulic tools that are on Rescue 13. The batteries are interchangeable, the charging units are all there. Then we're not crossing, you know, between gas powered hydraulics with hydraulic tools on vehicles.
Okay. All righty, no more questions. So we have the resolution. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item we have is the voter list management services agreement. The resolution's been moved and seconded that that there's a request by DataFX for the voter view list management agreement for conducting the next municipal election. Councillor Viss.
Yes, I only have one question. Is DataFix, is that the only outfit that does voters list? The reason I'm asking that, the last time I think we were reported there's the amount of mistakes and missing stuff on there, and and that's what I wrote down here. So I thought, is there anybody else? And maybe there is not. So maybe we have no choice.
Yes, if I could answer that, DataFix is used throughout the province with the majority of municipalities. I'm really not aware of another software company that does this. But as far as the errors go, that's pretty much related to MPAC. MPAC is the one that creates that list and sends it to DataFix. And they're just the tool that we use to make our corrections and things like that.
Thank you, Judy. Okay.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I see that the agreement expires December 31st of 2026. Is there a reason why we're doing this 18 months in advance?
Yes, it's noted in the report. It explains they wanted to kind of clarify a couple of sections in there. That's what they were trying to do.
Okay, so we have a resolution. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have another resolution here in regards to help delegation of head for the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. The resolution has been moved and seconded, recommending that the CAO clerk be considered the head under the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Does he want it?
I got no choice.
Okay, no discussion. All in favor? Okay, it has been passed. Opposed, I should say. Well, wait and keep your hand down. We have a Thunder Bay Police Services Statistics Report. And I thank the police services for this statistics. I would like to speak to whomever does this because it would be so much easier if they made a chart with a whole bunch of little lines and put each month in there, because then we could compare the months. Now you've got to go, and it is a little confusing, but we're going to have a liaison meeting with them. We can bring that up. It made so much easier for them as well.
The only thing I picked up on this part, we must have an awful law abiding citizen.
Yeah,
When they had only 31 traffic stops in January, and that's down to 14 in February. So I guess they didn't stop anybody. They're abiding the speed limit. They're doing whatever. So what more can we ask?
that's right.
So it was a good report. I appreciate it.
Yes, it is.
Good, there's no trouble with you.
Yes. Okay, so. The next item we have is the museum board meeting and the Thunder Bay District Health Unit meetings for our perusal. And if we have any discussions in regards to those meetings, we have their representative at the table here. Yes, Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. At the last board meeting for the museum, the capital expenses were discussed and they were surprised that the train station wood deck in the budget this year is $2,000. Previously, it had been $4,000. And they wondered who did the budget for the museum. Because they were not advised of any of those capital expenditures as far as an estimate. I know that it has to meet the grant that we put in, but they were just surprised as to who came up with those figures because they hadn't had a discussion on them at all.
That information would have been supplied by Director of Operations. I'm not sure his rationale for the changes, but
He's not here, so I'm sure that he can answer that question at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
It may be that it's going to be done in-house, and that's why it's cheaper.
Like I say, I know it's based on if we get a grant of some kind.
Yes. Okay, anything else? All righty, then we have our bylaws. It's first bylaws been moved and seconded in regards to amending agreement for the voter list management with DataFix. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have a bylaw moved and seconded in regards to the delegation of head of Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. It's open for discussion. It's moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a bylaw that has been moved and seconded to contract Burnt Gilbertson Enterprises with the crushing, screening, and stockpiling of gravel this year. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's been carried. And we have a bylaw in regards to the contract for the building condition assessment. It's MS Architects. It's been moved and seconded. And any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have a bylaw. It's been moved and seconded to set rules and regulations and rates for the landfill site. Is it over? Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Peacock.
Is that as amended with the changes that were provided on our desks today?
We don't need to do that because the resolution that we had for the council report mentioned that it had been altered and so forth. So this is just following up on that.
Any further discussion? Again, this is a bylaw that's been moved and seconded to set the rules and regulations and rates for the landfill site. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the last one is a bylaw to contract the Keckabeka Fire Hall washroom upgrade with Per Hall Construction. It has been moved and seconded. It is any open for discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have some communications in regards to the carbon tax, landlord tenant reforms, the OPG power generation station update that I've received. Also, for information, and it will be posted, the upcoming public information session in regards to the noise bylaw exemption request. And that is taking place at on April the 16th at the Keckabeka Legion at 6 p.m. Okay, the next item we have is a message from Chief Darcy Fleury from the Thunder Bay Police Services. And again, the second last one is the update from the District Social Services Board. And the last one is the OPG Freshet Information Session, which is going to take place on April the 9th from 6 to 7. If anybody is interested, I believe it's a virtual session. So you can register and watch this session. Will be part of it. I now come back with the fire station location open houses. Did it work out for this gentleman?
Sorry, that was Greg that called and he said he can make himself available the 12th and the 15th of May.
Of May, okay, so the 12th and the 15th, you can determine Roslyn Hall on the 12th, because they're first here. And that would be the open house for the open house for the fire station location, but this will actually be posters, or will this actually be discussion back and forth as we had with the fire department last time? This will be.
I think the plan, and I gotta talk with Greg to formalize, but the plan will be to have things up on the wall.
And the people can,
Come in and go and ask questions, and I like the suggestion box, have us where they can write some comments down so we can capture but basically be there to answer questions and to talk about.
okay.
Time 4 to 8, is that what you
We said
decided?
4 to 8, then those that wish to come on the way back from work
Yeah, is that
or that are at home and want to come earlier, can
Good,
do that.
4 to 8 then,
4 to
Meredith?
8, yes.
Okay,
So
And
Wayne,
Murillo will be on the 15th.
Wayne, do you want me to go check with Indy right now or are we just
Make sure
gonna,
that they're not booked. Could you do that?
for the 2 halls?
Wayne, did you,
go ask.
right.
did you want to check for the, yeah,
Otherwise, we could, if Monday is booked, we can always put Murillo on Monday.
well, that's right. We can flip it. We will just leave it that way for now and he'll check. Are we going into closed session? We do have something? Okay. So we'll just wait for a moment. Oh, that's right. Okay, while we're waiting, we could do new business. Alan Viss, Councillor Viss,
I spoke enough already. Nothing.
nothing. Councillor Peacock,
Thank you. I was reviewing the previous bylaws that had been passed by council, and when I looked at the agreement that we have with Dorsal Fin, it says that the screen was something that still had to be completed. I'm presuming by now, that's bylaw 9522. So I'm presuming by now that it is up, but I'm not sure. I haven't been to a game, so. Did we not have an agreement for that screen to be purchased? Oh, I'm sorry.
The video screen is up and running and we are sharing revenue based on the agreement with the Walleye.
Yeah, because coming to the end of the hockey season, they've had a successful one, so good for them. Hope they're compliant with their bylaw. Thank you.
and Councillor Campoff, any new business? No? Okay, then. Are they booked?
Yeah, those 2 dates are good. So
Okay.
she's penciled them in there.
He's penciled them in. Okay, so we will pass that resolution indicating that the Roslyn Hall Open House will be on May the 12th from 4 to 8 and on May the 15th in Murillo from 4 to 8 will be the open house there. Okay,
So if I could just on the new business, just 2 items. One, we already talked about the Thunder Bay partnership with the drone course, which
Right.
was really good. The Thunder Bay Police are really interested in working with us for drone from a training standpoint and potential the use of drones back and forth. We've got one, but they've got many more of them and cool ones.
cool ones.
So that's exciting. That'll help us in the training. And then you may have heard that there was a structure fire on 102. It was actually in Cam. It was one of the houses that's right on the boundary. So we got paged originally and then handed it over to Cam, but it was a complete loss of the structure. So it shut the whole highway down. We had a lot of trucks on there for a little bit. But
Okay, Count, yes.
I'm sorry, I just had one further question. It's with regard to the landfill cards. What happens to the garbage that is accumulated at the museum, at the rinks, at the ball fields, at the fire stations? Who gets those cards to make sure that
I
that
believe the rink
gets
has
looked after?
bins.
We're not using punch cards for municipal facilities. We just get to take what we want.
It's public garbage, but I believe that there's bins at the back or at the arena, I'm sure.
Okay, but like the fire stations and the museum, who's going to be responsible for taking that garbage?
they've been taking it up to now, if it's whoever it is, perhaps it's the roads department, I have no idea.
Well, I think we have GFL taking, like, for example, the bin at the Murillo Hall, they empty that one out.
Right,
They
yeah.
do.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we take the garbage ourselves and we're not gonna bring any punch cards with us when we do it.
Right. Okay,
Using the system.
yes,
To the fire stations, the station captain brings it to the landfill and we asked Chris about it and it was just, it's coming from the fire hall. You tell them that when it goes in and
mhm,
no cards. Yeah.
Good.
yes. Just a question of our planner, was there anything you would like brought forward at this meeting before we leave? No? Okay, thank you. So I now have a resolution moved and seconded that we will resolve into closed session at 10:45 a.m. All in favor? Opposed, carried. We will now take a 5-minute break. We have a resolution to reconvene the council meeting, the time being 11 a.m. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a resolution moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the closed session meeting held on March the 11th. Any discussion? Can't. All in favor? Opposed? And then we have a resolution moving the confirming meeting for our meeting held today. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have a resolution adjourning the meeting, the time being 11 a.m. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much. Our meeting is over.